I just asked the table, how many of you are playing with AI? And none of them were aware of it. You come forward to a year and a bit ago, same sort of setup, everybody knew about it.
There's no someone who's responsible for it. Like CTO says, it's not my job. CEO says, it's not my job. AI is still in this no man's land.
It's about having champions and showing and proving that it works. If people drop off what the process is, then you end up with that debacle.
But isn't the governance in place to prevent that from happening?
You would hope it's in place. Remember the issue with the taxation office? That wasn't AI, that was humans.
Yeah.
And humans do silly things, but you've got to have the tools to be able to verify things.
So it's people working with people on how to work with technology.
We can't stop it, so we need to adapt to it.
Hi everyone and welcome back to the Dumb Monkey Show. I'm your host for today and for most episodes, Davina Montgomery, and I'm joined as always by the wonderful co-host and founder of Dumb Monkey Academy, amongst various other things, Amir Katoub. Amir, how are you?
I'm good, thanks. How are you?
I'm really well. I'm especially good today because we've been joined by a special guest, which is always fun.
Absolutely.
So everyone, we'd love you to meet Mark Edmonds. Mark, tell us a bit about how we managed to drag you in here. No, tell us a little bit about you. Feel free to throw in how we dragged you in here.
So I've known Amir for a long time.
Yes.
Prior to the Geelong Authority board. And hence that's why I'm here, because Amir said, come and have a chat about AI, because I've been pushing AI and I love AI. But my background is I've been a retailer for donkey's years. I've run a motel and built a motel. I'm a non-executive director on a couple of boards, do a little bit of business consulting.
And a little bit of podcasting.
And a bit of podcasting with our, I'll plug it, True Business Stories.
Yes.
With my friend Bill Winter.
Well, thank you for joining us here today.
Pleasure.
It's an absolute joy to have you. Mark, one of our favourite things to do when we get our guests to come into the studio is ask them, how are you using AI?
So I'm probably a bit of an early adopter with AI. I remember reading about ChatGPT 2-3 years ago, maybe further back, and thought, this sounds interesting.
Actually, the day today we are recording, I think they are saying it's the 3rd anniversary of ChatGPT.
Well,
yes,
go. There you go. So that's not that long, is it?
That's
really?
right, yes.
So I remember reading about it and then registering on the ChatGPT site and then getting an email, saying you've got access.
So you got one of the early OpenAI logins.
Yeah, and then I just started playing with it. But my mistake was, and I've obviously learned, is I was treating it a bit like Google. So keying in things to ask questions and then going, oh, that's interesting, but what's different? And then I started to read a bit about prompts, and then Amir with his Dumb Monkey Academy, probably in the last year, maybe, I did a series of prompts and I thought, aha, the light bulb went on. So that made it more efficient. But I used it a fair bit. I've had to read documents, so I've got it, popped it into ChatGPT 5 now and had it do a summary for me, give me key points. I'm also in the AICD Barwon Southwest Regional Committee, and we were running an event down in Warrnambool. And I thought, I need to promote this on LinkedIn. And then we had a bit of a phone call and someone said, oh, they'll go and use some creative software and they'll go and do this. And I thought, no, there's a quicker way. Into ChatGPT 5, can you create a tile for me? And I did the brief. You're a marketing guru. I want you to.
You're really good at this.
And I need a photo of Carl Morris and Alex Papley, who were the two speakers. And it did a magnificent tile with all the key facts, everything. The only problem was the Alex Papley and the Carl Morris in the photo were not the Alex Papley. So that just reinforced in my mind how you have to be certain. I then uploaded 2 photos and it fixed that up. And all up took me 5 minutes.
Yeah.
And then I posted it on LinkedIn and it was gone. So.
And do you have any design skills? Would you have been able to do it without ChatGPT?
I've got no design skills. I would be cutting and pasting on Word or something and then getting frustrated and possibly playing with Canva. But no, this was so easy.
Yeah.
So easy. And then I've helped my daughter a couple of times who said, oh, what do you think of this job that I'm applying for? And so I've just gone into chat and said, righto, write me a cover letter. You are the whole prompt thing. And then sent it to her and she's come back and said, you've used chat, haven't you? And I said, yes. And she said, well, that's not how I say it. Yeah, but use it as the base, tweak it. Don't just take it for gospel. So I try and use it reasonably regularly, but mainly to assist and help.
Yeah.
I think it's great. It's a great tool.
Yeah. Are you still typing to ChatGPT, or you are saying or talking to it?
I did try a bit of talking to ChatGPT. I did a summary of, I'm just trying to think what I was summarizing. I can't remember, but I did read my notes into ChatGPT and then ask it to reformat it, and it worked. But I probably prefer to type and upload, I think. But I need to play with it more to get more proficient at it. But it's fun. It's good fun.
So, Mark, you are a non-executive director. You sit on boards. You help people sort out governance. And like I always come to you with any governance questions as well. And what I've seen is that sometimes a lot of governance people are very skeptic of AI and they're very conscious. When I'm talking to you, you feel like you are very enthusiastic about it. So I just want to understand, as a governance person, how do you sort of see the difference between the risk with AI and what you can do with AI?
The risk is probably the starting point in having a policy. So one of the boards I'm on, we put together an AI policy because we realized very quickly there were people in the organization that were using all sorts of versions of AI, and you get nervous about where that information is going in the first and foremost. So we put a policy together around it to make sure that we'd set some guide rails. The state government, as you know, tends to favour Copilot because they've got the Microsoft 360. But if we're only using the free version of Copilot rather than the enterprise version, you're sort of half running with one leg strapped behind your back. So there's obviously got to be a bit of expenditure to get everyone on enterprise to get the right respect out of it and using it properly.
Yeah.
And then at a board level, having a discussion around AI. Where does the board see the AI going? And that's the interesting bit, I think, because there's still a fear around AI. And there's still, people read about the stories that it hallucinates. So that immediately fixate. If you're not interested in it, then you've got an excuse. Because you could say, oh, no, it's not accurate, it hallucinates. Well, no. Let's check what we're doing, and it's how you use it and how you check it to make sure you're getting where you want to be.
So where do you think some of those fear points are, Mark? What's driving those fears at a board level? And I think it's a really interesting observation of yours because I feel like it's probably something that's being experienced very broadly.
Yeah, talking to friends of mine on boards, a lot of it boils down to if you are reasonably comfortable with technology. And I use the example, if you know how to connect to the Wi-Fi when you're in a strange location, then you're probably okay.
You can probably navigate.
But if you can't connect to the Wi-Fi and then you blame the laptop and then you say, it's a terrible connection.
And then you call your kids and ask them how to fix it.
You are probably going to be reluctant to try anything that's new. So, and it's just a fear thing at the end of the day. On the other hand, if you're reasonably proficient at being able to do what you need to do, then you'd be happy to have a chat with AI. And I also wonder if it's a bit of an age thing, and that might sound a bit ageism. I'm not a young man anymore, but I love this stuff.
But sure.
But if you're probably under 30, you're into it because you don't think anything more about it. My kids they just use it. So what? What's the big deal? But I think there's definitely that factor of people that aren't used to the technology might have a little bit of pushback against it. So it's trying to get people to understand what it's about and what it can do and take away that fear.
And something else that I think tends to happen particularly in an organisation space, when we're talking about an organisation that's big enough to have a governance board, then one of the blocks that tends to come in is there'll be a piece of work done, we'll identify some possible new ways of doing things, go down the path of research or testing, development, all of those things, and then it gets there and the people in the organisation don't use it. And I wonder how much there's a block in, I'm really good at what I do, I'm good at my job, but I don't know how to use this. I don't want to use something that might not be something that I'm good at.
That's interesting. I've found that people within the organisations are really gung-ho on it. They really want to use it, and nobody's thinking, I'm going to be out of a job. I've not struck that. And if you get the right people to come and chat to you, so Amir's chatted to a few people that I know. Another guy, Alex Papley, who you know, we've had conversations with.
We had him on our podcast.
Have you?
Yes, yes.
Alex is a great guy.
Yes.
So you've got to get the experts in to come and talk to you and understand what you're doing and have a look at your organisation. And that then helps you get through some of that. But I haven't struck anybody saying, "Oh, it'll take my job."
Yeah.
Not seen that anywhere. But though, oh no, well that's not true. I did talk. We did interview on our True Business podcast a real estate agent who said they no longer use copywriters.
Yes.
Yeah.
So you could argue that copywriters are a dying role.
One of the first ones that was in the firing line, I think.
You know, how many times can you say 4-bedroom house, 3-bathroom, 2 garage?
In a new way.
In a new way. So they use it in a big way.
Yeah.
So yes, there are some, but to me, it's in where I play, it's more about making things more efficient and it's freeing up time to get the projects done that you want done, etc.
One factor that I've also seen is, of course, there is a fear of AI, but a lot of executives that I have talked to, they have used AI in their personal stuff. So they'll say, "Oh, I'm helping my kids do it," or I made this funny picture out of it. But when it comes to using it for work, they sometimes do not even understand how they can actually use it for work as well. So I guess there's fear in the initial part, but I know that there are a lot of people who are using ChatGPT, but they still are not very clear on how to actually use it for their work. So I guess there's a gap that needs to be filled as well.
It's an education thing.
Yes.
I think it's hard to possibly know where to go to get educated. So you're Dumb Monkey Academy. I'm assuming it's going in leaps and bounds, Amir, because it's lots of great information in there. And then it becomes up to the individual to apply it and use it and learn.
Yeah.
But the information I gained, and I was a big, as you know, I bought your book and then handed out quite a few copies to lots of people. And that got people talking about the book, but not so much the book, but the information within it. And I kept saying to people, use the sections that talk about prompts, use and have a play. So to me, it's the education. And I'd be interested to know, I don't know if you know, are the schools in teaching about AI, or are they just seeing it there as something that they're using to do their homework and not, where's the education in there to bring people into it?
I think education is still struggling. I know some TAFEs that we are working with to develop micro-credentials around it. But like schools are in a very uncertain stage where they don't know what to do. I know Cardinia, what they have said is, of course, we want to use block ChatGPT, but you can use Copilot, which is at least a good approach. But it's an interesting space. Everyone is confused in terms of what to do. Like last year, it was all about ban AI. Yeah. At least I am seeing organizations evolving from there and saying, no, we can't ban it. Like it needs to be there.
I remember probably 4 years ago, so ChatGPT is 3 years old, so maybe 4 years ago, I was sitting at a AICD function and we broke for lunch. So there was about 11 people sitting around a table. And I just asked the table, how many of you are playing with AI? And went around the table and none of them were aware of it. None of them were using it except person that came from one of the TAFEs who said, we're trying to work out how do we use it and do we allow the students to use it because this is quite scary how this is going. You come forward to a year and a bit ago, same sort of setup, and I asked the same question. Everybody knew about it.
Yeah.
And the unis and the TAFEs were, we're encouraging use. We can't stop it, so we need to adapt to it. And I think that's part of it is evolving and saying, where do you use it? I do some reviewing of AICD entries for grants, and we get about 40 applications sent to us. So you read them and score them. Very easy scoring system, beautifully laid out. And when we had a webinar catch up just to talk about the process, and the very first question was, now, do we mark down the ones that are definitely written by AI? So my question was, how do you know? Oh, it's easy to tell. Is it? oh, yeah, it leaves gaps after words and but so wouldn't we encourage people to use AI to make it a better application? But it doesn't take away from what they have to have in their knowledge and what they've said.
Yes.
Because it can be a generic response and you go, well, that doesn't answer the question.
Yeah.
So it's interesting. And that was last year.
Mm-hmm.
So there's still that learning process.
Yeah.
And even the Geelong Business Awards, which you nicely won, Emil. We'll just give you a little plug.
Thank you.
Everyone.
Business Leader of the Year. When we sat talking about the entries, there were a couple there where you could see that there was a consistency so it had an AI influence on it. And we talked about, well, okay, what do we think about the AI? And to me, it's just another tool. Years ago, when you were using a Word document and spell check was there, you used spell check.
You should have been using Grammarly as well.
Then you had Grammarly and you used Grammarly. So AI is just another tool in the quiver. It doesn't change what you write.
Yeah.
It just can make it a little bit more efficient and
it can be the uses that you're talking about, even in reviewing your own document or asking for some suggestions. That can be a really nice entry point if it is something that does make you a bit nervous.
Yeah.
But of course, I mean, you're going to be working with a whole lot of businesses and interacting with a whole lot of businesses that are using AI, whether they know it or not.
That's right.
We talk a lot about this when AI is being integrated into so many parts of.
Absolutely.
You mentioned you're using Canva before. If you're using Canva, you're using AI now. That's.
But the point that you raised about using it as a tool, I recently was checking job applications and I saw one job application that was very poorly written. And I generally don't respond. It's the HR team, but I responded back to that person and saying, in this day and age, you do not have any excuse to have a poorly written job application with problems or errors and things like that. Like that becomes the standard now. If you're putting in something, if you're sending a job application, you should at least have that checked with ChatGPT or something.
They're obviously
like that.
not interested in the job.
Maybe, yes.
And especially applying to a company that deals in IT and tech.
Yes. Yeah, like it has just become a minimum standard now. Yes, yeah. You talked about education, Mark, and you said it comes down to the education. Who's in an organization, especially, I'm not talking from an individual perspective, whose responsibility is it to ensure that education is provided to the board members, to the executives, and to the team members?
There's probably there's different levels. I would say the board needs to educate itself. So you need to bring somebody in to just present to you, this is what AI is. It would be ideal if they'd had a bit of a wander through the organization and talk to people so they could say to the board, look, here's 3 quick wins, because boards love quick wins.
Yeah, that's a good point.
And then probably then meeting with the exec to just, what are your problems? What are you trying to solve?
Yeah.
And then helping them understand what they could solve. And then the CEO probably would have to drive that to say, right, how do we educate people? How do we bring people in? The individuals, that gets interesting because some people are happy to pick up and read and use your Dumb Monkey Academy or whatever.
Yeah.
And others just won't.
So we'll get busy keeping busy.
They'll be busy keeping busy. So I think it becomes then that sort of the managerial role. If you've got an exec who's embracing it, it will probably populate down through the organisation. If you've got an exec who tells everybody it's a heap of crap and, it's dangerous. And so it's getting over that. And I'm sure, I'd still laugh. I still think, when Microsoft Word first came out, I'm sure there were people who said, oh, no, this is witchery.
Yeah.
So
mobile phones.
And
a lot of people didn't want to touch them for a long time, and yet now.
So it's that learning's really important. And I'd be really interested to see whether if you look at schools and what year do you bring in AI? Do you start teaching students around year 10 about AI? But then you've got to think about the teacher.
Yeah,
the person that teaches something at school sometimes is multi-skilled, so they might be the sports teacher and the English teacher. Then who's the AI teacher? So how does the teacher learn for them to be able to introduce it? Because to me, it's a skill needed in the real world.
Yeah.
And if it's not being taught in schools, it's when do people pick it up? And that's when they pick up the bad stuff. That's when they're not.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I don't know. Have you had much to do with schools, Amir?
I have, and I've been on talked to a few advisory boards as well.
Yeah.
I think the challenge for them is twofold. First is that AI, although it's an amazing tool, it's a very open-ended thing, right?
Mhm.
So if you expose students to it, especially people who are young, it can
there are risks.
there's a lot of potential to create harm as well.
Yep.
And we have seen cases
Yep.
where AI encouraged a student to do suicide. We've seen cases where AI can
really
encourage
dangerous.
people to do
Yep.
self-harm as well. So you almost need to implement AI and teach them how to use AI, but in a controlled environment as well. Yes.
Yeah.
Which current large language models, they don't do it really well. It's a great startup idea if someone wants to take it. If they can actually create an environment which is controlled, where students can play with it and be safe. So at one stage, I think that students at a particular age should be done taught AI, but in a controlled and managed environment. But it's very important for us to teach them about AI as well.
It's interesting, isn't it? Because whenever there's anything good, there's always someone that comes out with the evil side of it. So therefore you get these, AI generated graphic pictures.
Yes. Well, it's so easy to do it now. Earlier,
so
you needed
easy.
to know Photoshop. You need to know Canva to do that.
No, you don't.
Now you just have to imagine it, or AI would come back to you. Like if you use Grok model, and we have done a lot of fun with it. Like it can start to take you in some dark territories really fast.
A really dark rabbit hole.
Yes.
But we teach kids in school about social media, and it was very much the same conversations that come. I mean, obviously we've got the social media ban for under 16s coming into effect as of this week, I believe, or next week. Yeah, that's right. It is today.
Yeah.
So we've had to adjust. The education system has had to adjust, and individually at school levels, particularly, and we're particularly talking about students under 18. We're not talking about university and TAFE students as much here. But the reality is it's there. It's there, it's everywhere. It's going to be used. Kids are going to use it if they can get access to it, which most of them can.
And right now, I'm not even thinking about school students, because I'm first of all worried about the graduates who are coming out, people who are spending 5 years studying law, and what their future is going to be. But then also the organizations that are
really good at prompting.
They need to.
Legal questions, don't they?
Yes, but once agents start to take over, what would be their role? But also with the organization now embracing AI, how would you start to upskill people who are currently in the organization? Because they need to upskill themselves really fast as well. So I'm seeing a huge skill gap that's going to happen.
Except for the kids who are about to graduate, who are actually hoping that there isn't a big skill take up, because that's their pathway to get a job. Is we can boot out the people that don't get it anymore. But we've had this issue before, though, haven't we? We've had the technology take up then becomes a bit ageist.
There is a gap. It's really interesting, because it's so easy to use, and if people grab it and use it, but then how do they? It's all very well to sit there. Like I was playing with Nana Banana the other day, which is hilarious. It's really good. I just said, give me I put Bill Winter's picture in, hello Bill, and said, give me a picture of an old man sitting on a hill in a thoughtful way. And bang, there's this Bill sitting on the side of the Himalayas. And it was so accurate, so good. But I could have done evil with that.
Yes.
So it's how do you put those parameters in? How do you stop people not being nasty with it?
And how do you use it as an effective tool?
Yes.
That comes with those governance boundaries, but also helps you to achieve the potential that's sitting there in your organisation or your business. Because that's the whole point of it being a tool.
That's the whole point of it being a tool. And especially around the chats with Amir, the chats with Alex, how you can use it in helping analyse financials in an organisation, sorting out your filing instead of someone sitting there and trying to use SharePoint and put it all in the right boxes. Put an agent over the top and set it off.
It's a really interesting point, isn't it? Because I think we've talked a lot about the kind of things, like realising where your problem areas are and then deploying potentially AI into that space and teaching people how to do it and putting some governance around it. But you could almost flip it and say, well, what are the things that we know we should be doing but we're not doing because we don't have time, or it's too boring, or we can't get people to do it? And can we get AI to do those things? Can we start to gap fill as well?
Look, I think next year will be a really interesting year because I think it's building legs that
Yeah.
people are starting to understand it better and want to understand it better. And then you've got people that are, the danger is, I suppose, on the other side is there are people out there saying they're AI experts and can train you on it. And they're not necessarily
Yeah,
right,
I would.
because there's no, you could just put a shingle up and say AI expert.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How do you know?
Yeah.
There's no qualification,
There's no
license,
qualifications.
no certification. Yeah.
And I remember talking to somebody, and I have to be very careful how I phrase this, about an issue they had. And I said, look, I'm not an expert on this, but it strikes me that a very simple AI agent could help you sort that out. And they said, oh, yeah, I'll talk to my AI expert. And I said, oh, who do you use? And with all respect, they were a marketing agency that had rebranded themselves
As an AI.
as an AI expert, right? Now, that's a long stretch that you're used to marketing and now suddenly you're talking to people about AI. They might be good at it.
It's entirely possible. But I think you raise a really interesting point because we're working on, and what I suspect is we're going to see a lot of in 2026 and moving forward is that you're going to have more customized AIs. And this will feed into the idea of how do we put governance boundaries, how do we deploy it in a way, how do we help our people use this effectively, is that we will have more customized AIs. So whether it's a large language model, a small language model, but it will be specified, there'll be some, you can, obviously it's a whole lot of ways you can cut it. You have agents attached and coding and things. But if we're starting to get very specific AI usages, so it will be, give me a large organisation, it might be Wesfarmers, I'm sure, has their own AI, no doubt. And there'll be plenty of others that do as well. Who's building them? Because sounds great, doesn't it? You know, that's a real solution. We'll get our own. We don't really want to look. Copilot's fantastic, but does it really fit our use case? Love some of the stuff over at GPT, but we're worried about using ChatGPT. Oh, but we should get our own because that'll, then we'll start to learn our systems and we can start to develop these agents and we can really make this work. But if you don't have a good system from the beginning, if it hasn't been built particularly well, then that's going to be a problem.
And who's teaching you and who's...
we don't want to point fingers at the bomb website, but it's not exactly like we don't have a great history of people charging very large amounts of money for things that don't necessarily work that well.
But and it's interesting too. I've read through the state government silver review on the structure of the public service, and there's a big section in there on AI and how
which is great,
and how it can help the organiser and help the public service. And it was interesting. I think that one of the recommendations was merging water boards, which has been knocked back. But what was interesting, what was the driver, I think, behind some of that, was each water board was working on its own, I think, CRM system or some back of house system. But each of them were different. They're all water boards. They're all in Victoria. But I can just see it. The person who's driving it in each of those places will be thinking they've got the best solution. Oh no, we won't use theirs because theirs is crap.
Yeah, well, that won't work for our use case.
Whereas the push is, how do we standardise some of this and using AI to get the best results? So I think it'll be interesting because I did sit in on a public service briefing on AI about a couple of months ago. That was fascinating. So there were people there from the Department of Health who openly said, we're all over AI. We're using it constantly. Yes, there's that, they're using Copilot, but they're also developing their own models. And that
I'd also suggest that the Department of Health is one of those areas that has very poor data standardisation. And I'm not just talking about the Victorian Department of Health, I'm talking about departments of health are renowned for having really poor standardised data.
Well, that was interesting because that's where they were looking at, but they were also really conscious of the whole privacy and the governance around it. But it was really interesting. It was a really positive, this is where we're heading and we need to be working together to get the best results. So, I think that'll evolve.
Yeah, which is, that's so positive though.
I thought it was really good.
It's a really, it's a lovely, I find that really comforting, to be honest.
I must admit, I attended the call thinking I'm going to be yawning and I'll log off after 10 minutes. And I didn't. I stayed all the way through. It was about an hour and a half. It was really interesting.
Because there's some fascinating ways that that our public service can be using AI, and most of that is very people-focused.
Yep.
Most of it's not so much. I mean, of course there's back-end systems and processes that could be put in place, but the ability of AI to help people interact and have a better experience with the public service, because we're all interacting with the public service so often, is amazing.
Absolutely.
And it's, it's more so in your palm of your hands. Like, I've used an Android phone, so I've got the Gemini, the Google version. I'm still playing with it. It does.
When you're not getting distracted by Nano Banana and Bill Up Mountain.
But it does hallucinate.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought that
very keen to give you the answers.
It's keen to give me the answer, and it made me realise how well it knows where you are, because I just, as a silly, I was looking for champagne for Christmas. I thought, what's the top 3 champagnes in 2025 that's won awards? So I just asked Gemini, and bang, it came back at me. But it told me that Vas Felix, grown on the Bellarine, and I thought, Vas Felix isn't on the Bellarine. I live on the Bellarine. And I'm thinking, wow, that is really interesting.
Because it really wants to give you an answer.
And it told me the third best was Oakdean. Well, Oakdean is the winery just around the corner from me. So I thought, no, you've given me an answer you might think I want. So then I rephrased it and said, listen, as a wine connoisseur, and then I got 3 good wines. So you still have to, you've got to have your wits around you. Because if you didn't, you'd probably be running around bottle shops looking for Vas Felix from the Bellarine, and they'd be looking at you as if you're an idiot. So,
yeah, and Bill's family are going to be looking for him up about.
Yes,
so
but it's handy to use.
It is,
and I find it quite easy to just say, "Hey,
but
Gemini,"
like any tool,
understanding
the pros and cons, understanding its limitations, and understanding its capabilities—that's kind of the point.
And it's getting better.
And we get experts. You can get an expert that comes in and pick up a tool and do something pretty incredible with it, and you can get those of us who, hit our thumbs with a hammer and sit there and cry about it. But it's going to be a very broad school, I think.
Yeah, it's interesting.
Talking about experts, we looked at, there was a big consultancy that submitted a report for government, and there were a lot of issues over there. The reason that case study is interesting for me is because they would be expert in governance as well. And they would have applied some sort of governance, right? But this is a case of their governance going completely wrong there. What do you think would have happened over there?
It's an interesting question. I would say someone just got slack and lazy.
Mm-hmm.
That instead of reading it and just saying, right, let's just do a pulse check of what we're put together, it was, that looks okay. And whether it went through their risk assessment folk to say, is this right? Is this accurate? It was, everyone just went, it's good, which is no different to when things go wrong without using AI.
Mm-hmm.
If people drop off what the process is and don't follow their governance process or risk process, then you end up with that debacle that happened.
But isn't the governance in place to prevent that from happening?
You would hope it's in place. And you would think the consultancy company that got caught out would have all those risks. But then remember the issue with the taxation office with people being briefed and leaking it to their clients. Well, that wasn't AI. That was humans.
Yeah.
And humans do silly things.
Yeah.
So it's about having the right guide rails there to say, righto, this report that we're preparing, who checks it, who double checks it. Stick it through another AI agent and
tell
say,
us if it's,
hey, how good's this? And you might be frightened.
Yeah.
So it means just having that AI policy or framework is okay, but it's not enough?
I think it's good enough to have the framework, but you've got to have the tools to be able to verify things. There's a danger that if you just read it and say, well, that sounds right, as opposed to, well, let me just spot check.
How do I know that it is right?
How do I know that it is right? That's the tricky bit.
Right.
And I think in putting reports together or feeding reports in on analysing a business or recommendations to a business, there's got to be that human check. And part of that process probably should be don't issue it and don't submit it until somebody has checked it and spot checked. You don't have to go through the whole thing, but at least just do a bit of a pulse
using an
check.
AI agent.
But an AI agent, why not run it through another AI agent who might go, what are you submitting?
Yeah. But like taking it from a skeptic's point of view, they are saying even if you use Copilot 365, it can still hallucinate.
Of
Yep.
course.
Now you are giving this tool to everyone in your organization. It could be a large organization.
Yep.
People can use this tool at their own
Yep.
level. They can create stuff, not check the stuff, and start to push things out. So it can cause a lot of reputational damage to the organization. They can make wrong decisions, talk to wrong customers, share wrong information. Like even with the policies and governance framework in place, what can we do to stop that?
I'd come back to education.
Mm-hmm.
I'd come back to that the individual using it needs to fully understand it is not perfect.
Mm-hmm.
So yes, it looks perfect, but when you get a response, just double check.
And it looks perfect and it's quick.
Yes.
When you're under pressure or you're, trying to cut through things quickly, the temptation is there.
Yeah, and ChatGPT has quick and the different.
Yeah.
And there is a difference. You'll get a very quick response, and it may not be as accurate as you would like it. So, to me, it's about the education and having the understanding that don't accept it 100% every time. There's some things you'll look at and go, that's easy.
But also, what can you do at an individual level to be, checking your own responses, so getting those responses back and doing a check, but then think to look for it. You're right, it is an education piece.
It's education, but there's nothing stopping you using 365 and then feeding it back in and say, I want you to review this and tell me whether it's accurate in what you've told me.
And give me the sources for X, Y, Z.
That's a really important part, Davina, is looking when it's asked. And I've noticed ChatGPT does that, gives you the little link on where it's got the source from. And some of it's a bit vague. If you go in and look at it, you go, okay, I understand why you've used that, but that's not quite the power.
And it's also, you would have done this, I've done this, when I've put that in and gone back and tried to test the source links, has it given me the right links?
Yes.
So even things like understanding, as you play with it more, as you start to understand more about effective prompting, by all means, by going through the Dumb Monkey Academy, we would hope. But things like putting your prompts in that put boundaries around where those sources can come from. So it will be this source, this source, this source, or this source, or it could be sources from here, this site, or this particular link, or this file.
Yeah.
So that you're starting to, like anything else, like when any kind of job that we're doing, it's not boundaryless.
It's no different.
We always have, we box everything, so you never do anything otherwise.
I've tried to come up with a solution for this, and I've thought a lot about it. I feel, and the way I try to explain it is how you, before giving someone a car to drive and getting them out on the road, you actually get them through a test and give them a driving license. I think we need to have that AI license. So people need to go through a mandatory training, a test before they are allowed to use AI, because it's a powerful, but it's a very dangerous tool. And then you have road rules in place to make sure that they are following those road rules, and there are penalties in place and checks and so on.
There's a job for you. If you came up with a module of AI and educating people how to use AI and then testing them on it, most businesses these days use online training. So it would just be a matter of slotting a module in and having a compulsory AI module as part of the governance process. So you've got a policy on AI.
Start with Copilot, because we've all done our training through
and
organizational training through SharePoint.
Teach people just very simple uses of Copilot, but also testing them on it.
Okay.
Like you do with, doing a cybersecurity training. Don't click on that link. Here's an example of which of these looks a little harder with AI, but at least you could do a very simple 20-minute, this is how you use AI, these are the things to be wary of, and then test people's awareness of it. There you go.
Thank you. That's a good idea.
but that's you're right, Amir. That's what's missing. That education again. It's that bit's there. I mean, I'm self-taught, and I'm nowhere near what as good as I probably could be.
Yeah.
And I use your dumb monkey information, but I go in and play with it, and then I walk away from it. But if you're in an organisation and you're wanting people to use it, you've got to have some education around it and strong guide rails. So I think. Yeah, it's interesting. And people hear the hallucinations and then that becomes the reason they don't want to use it.
That's right.
Well, okay, but how do you check for that? What are some
Yeah.
of the tools you could got? And the links are really important because, I mean, all ChatGPT and Copilot, it's scouring the internet for anything
It's
they
finding
can find.
sources
And
to
if
give you that
someone's
answer.
put something up and lots of people have read it and it's ended up a load of rubbish.
And a whole lot of the internet, content on the internet now, just on the web, is AI generated.
Yes. So is it self-feeding itself?
Yeah.
Well, it is, yeah.
So we talk about hallucination, but one of the risks that we have talked a lot about in this podcast is people putting in the information that you're not supposed to put.
Yeah.
And so people say, like organization says, don't put any confidential information into this. But it's very hard to determine for a layman to first classify an information as confidential or not, whether it's something that they can put or not. So do we need to develop a system where we assume that people are going to put a lot of work-related information that could be confidential and putting the guardrails around it?
I'd go back to what is confidential.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a lot of, don't use ChatGPT because, if you put confidential information, it'll go all around the internet and everyone will know what it is.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're putting up information about a business plan you're doing,
is that confidential? Yeah. Is there any risk?
If you're putting up all the names and addresses and phone numbers of all your team and you want to know how many people live in a certain area, well, that's probably breaching confidentiality because that's readily identifiable information.
And a lot of information in the health sector is absolutely confidential and with high risk associated.
So it's probably making an understanding of what is deemed confidential and what could harm the organisation. If you put up all the financials of an organisation, if you're in a company and someone's looking to find out, how well you're tracking, then if that information's there and they can find it, because all you got to do is ask Chat and say, go and find me, that would be interesting. It would, you've got to have that protection on those sorts of things. Again, I'd come back to education, back in, don't put this up. And there's no reason why you can't be vague about something to get the response you want. So you don't have to name the organisation. You can say, I am in an organisation that, and this is the information and I want you to X with it. You don't have to name the organisation. I must admit, I've done a little bit of that because I'm just conscious of where it goes.
Yeah.
Indeed.
But you can now turn off where it goes.
Absolutely.
So
yes.
again, that's a trick.
And part of the education
is part of the education. So you're back into education again. Everyone's sort of saying, oh, Copilot or Copilot Enterprise is the way to go. But what's stopping Microsoft skimming in the background?
Yeah, and the reality is that the space is moving so fast that there's going to be new products, new developments, new companies. We are going to have more agents, then we're going to have more systems that are built specifically for certain use cases. So,
and then you just don't have like AI in Copilot. Now you've got AI in Salesforce, AI in this system, that system. So every system is coming up with their own AI as well. So your data is being accessed over there.
I heard a story the other day, and I don't know, it's like all these things, urban myths get created around these things. But they made a comment that someone within an organisation asked Copilot or ChatGPT what was the best way to go about asking for a pay rise. And the response came back, no point asking, because you're down to be made redundant. Because all the data and all the information had been fed into ChatGPT to formulate some package on where the staffing would go. Now, I don't know if that's true or not.
Yeah, it could happen with Copilot because especially if your SharePoint is not sorted really well, it can.
Yeah, where's the source data? That's right.
But that's interesting.
Yeah, it is interesting.
So, that to me is, well, if someone in HR is uploading all that information in there or they're using Copilot to sort the filing out and find information, have they put parameters on it to say, don't let people below this job grade or whatever?
Yeah.
But that's a scary bit, isn't it?
Yeah.
And again, I'm not sure whether it's just an urban myth because
I love an urban myth though, Mark.
These things perpetuate themselves.
My feeling is that governance in AI is still an unsorted area and the traditional governance is failing around it.
It's probably an evolving area.
Yes.
As we understand what AI can do or we don't want it to do, then that governance needs to evolve.
And who owns the responsibility for that as well in the organization?
Well, I can give you a live example. So I'm on the Great Ocean Road, Coast and Parks Authority Board, and we've got an AI policy.
Mm-hmm.
And we've asked our auditors to come in and audit our policy and how we're implementing it and using it. And we're treating it as any other risk.
Yeah.
So we do a cyber risk, we do a payroll audit. So do an AI check.
Mm-hmm.
That's, I think, really good. Do
you think auditors are
that's a good question.
Qualified enough to be
that's because the auditors will tell you they are, the ones we're using.
Yes.
We'll only know when we start to get the report back, which is next year, to see where they've delved and where they've got to.
Yeah, because, and I'm not sort of boasting, I have looked at a lot of AI policies, and as soon as I look at it, I can start to poke holes into it.
Yep.
But that's true for the policies that I have helped create as well. Like someone can come in and start to poke a lot of holes into it because with any of the tools that we were using previously, there was certain number of things that you could do. So the risk were very well capsulated or defined. With AI, there's so much that you can do. So the risks are so broad as well.
Huge.
It's huge. So that even AI policy, I feel that cannot be a static document. It needs to be that living document as well.
Correct. And I'm pretty sure we've got our AI policy coming back after 6 months to have a sit down and review. Hence the auditors coming in to look at it.
So do you think it's board's responsibility or?
I think the board has to set the policy. Management will create the policy.
Yes,
the board have to make sure they sign off and interrogate it.
And how informed does the board needs to be about the use of AI?
It's back to the education.
Yes, yeah.
So how do you bring all the board up to a comfort level of understanding what's being put in front of them?
Yeah.
Because if you just stick a AI policy in front of them, they'll read it as any other policy and think, oh, well, looks okay. But is it doing what we need to do it?
Yeah.
And I think that's where you need like subcommittees within boards. So on the Great Ocean Road Board, I chair the Audit and Risk Committee. So those policies will come to us. Now, because I've got an interest in it and the other members of the committee are also attuned, we're asking the questions.
Yeah.
Is this right? Have you done this? What about that? And the people who've written the policy and brought it to us, they're very much into the AI space. So they're thinking from their end, what are the things we need to be aware? So you need that expertise. You wouldn't just give anybody, don't give the accountant and say, write me a AI policy.
Or the marketing person.
Please
don't do that.
Yes.
It's got to be someone who understands governance and understands the risks that are attached to it.
And I was having a very interesting conversation with one of my director friends, and I was arguing that for you to be able to govern AI properly, you need to have a hands-on understanding of what's possible with AI. But this person was saying that as a director, I manage and govern a lot of things in my organization. I don't really need to know how exactly everything is work. I need to know how to govern, and especially with AI, I need to know what are the risks and what are the challenges. And if I know that, I should be able to govern it properly.
Yeah, it's interesting. As a director, you're responsible for a lot of things across the organization. So, and lots of boards work with subcommittees that I've talked on so that they can then deep dive into areas of knowledge. But that doesn't mean the board abdicates when that subcommittee report comes to the board. The board needs to interrogate it as well. And that then, to me, comes back to education, that the board needs to have it. And they don't have to know the nitty gritty. They don't have to know, about all the prompts, but they need to understand these are the tools that it can be used for, and these are the risks that are attached to it. So it's back to that education piece again. It's funny how it keeps coming, but that's the place. I think that education. You don't need to know the intricacies of how ChatGPT works, but you need to have an understanding of why you need to have some guide rails there and why you want them there.
But I also wonder, is it even possible to educate someone on AI unless they experience what's possible with it as well?
Yeah, that's interesting. But maybe that's part of the education.
Like,
you do a very simple exercise with somebody and say, here you go, use the AI to create a document on X.
Yeah.
And just see because once you ask the question or prompt it correctly and get a response back, it would be interesting.
Yeah.
But I don't think you can't have every director absolutely over every single.
No.
It's that.
But like
there's a fine line because that's operational that you're getting into, and you want the operators to know.
But like the example that you pointed out, where you said, that urban myth that ChatGPT had access to the files. So ChatGPT generally do not have access to your files, but something like Copilot has access to your SharePoint, email, Teams meeting, and so on.
It's all linked.
So a very simple case over there is that if you have like a general room where Microsoft Teams is connected and people are doing meetings over there, and if it's a generic email ID, automatically everyone has access to that meeting and everyone would have access to the transcript. So if they would ask a question about what happened in that meeting, it would provide them with a response. Now, it's a very nitty-gritty thing. Like, so it's a very operational level thing. But I feel as a director, if I don't understand that risk that it can happen.
So that to me would be how you would break it down in the risk register under the use of the AI.
Yeah.
Understanding that, well, the organization's on Microsoft 365, Teams is connected, everybody that uses Teams, because you get the feed. And, oh, by the way, have any of you tested out asking it, what was discussed in that meeting? Can you give me a summary of what was discussed in that meeting? That would be interesting to test it out.
So you're talking a little bit, Amir, about having what's the role of a potential AI champion in the governance, so of informing how the governance is then set.
Yes, but I'm also talking about, that was a use case that we funnily picked up when one of the employees, we were having a conversation about the AI policy, and then someone raised, we have got our Teams in our generic meeting room. Everyone has access to those meetings and it can come up. But we had like some really good, decent AI experts in there, some good governance experts in there. We already had prepared a policy, a risk register, but we didn't have that in. Yes, have that in there. And then it would go to the board. And if, again, you have got directors who are not informed about it, they might not even stop to ask that question as well.
Yeah, because you need to know that that's how Teams operates.
Yes.
But it would have to be recorded for Teams to have stored the information from that meeting.
So what happens is generally it's set to auto record, like especially in meeting rooms.
So your risk manager would.
And there's always like a board meeting as a member who that joins that.
Yeah.
So what happens is in Copilot, if you as a member has joined a meeting, then you can have access to that transcript if that setting is allowed, which means your Copilot can have access to that transcript. So even if you are not there and that particular email wasn't there, then you can have access to that transcript. Yeah.
So, and you can assume that even while there might be a policy of having that setting turned off, you can assume that it can and will happen. So how do you set some risk boundaries around that as well?
To me, if you were having a confidential discussion about, well, we're going to make 100 people redundant next week, you would turn off
maybe
the
don't do it over Teams.
You don't record it.
Yeah. But that's really about confidential discussion. But there are a lot of like discussions that everyone doesn't need to be privy of as well. Yeah.
Because there's lots of meetings you go to that. You use it too, Amir. It pops up in the corner.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Amir's agent or whatever it is.
There's a bot hanging around in your
Meet Geek, yes, yeah.
And I was at one today and on the Teams meeting, and up popped this attendee, which was the agent for one of the people who was taking the minutes.
Yes.
And I did ask, are we comfortable that this is, and there was yes, because they're doing the minutes and we're not talking about anything confidential and they're putting it together. And the person who was doing it said, I use it on everything because it's so good, because as soon as I hang up, I've got my minutes.
Yes.
And I'll circulate them to you within an hour.
Yeah.
So it's that balance up.
Yeah.
I noticed that occasionally you get asked to turn it off in our Geelong Authority meetings.
Yeah, and sometimes I actually go in the meeting and say, can you please let this agent out? Because it automatically joins all the meetings. There should be some smart in there so that it doesn't join every meeting. But the person who's letting it in needs to have that education, whether...
Yes, because they're letting it in.
Yes. What's the policy of letting someone's agent in there or not?
They're probably seeing your name and going, Amir's got 2 connections, without realising.
Yeah, and it clearly says Amir's Meet Geek.
So you know what?
Yes.
Back to education.
Yes. Yeah.
And it is going to be evolving.
Because they're good tools.
They are good tools. And we don't want to discourage the use of them because there are risks associated with them.
So do you think
Because there's risk in that as well.
Do you think
right?
we're paranoid when people see that EMEA's agents up there? Do you think people get paranoid about it?
Absolutely.
I think so. Like some do,
Yeah.
like because now
Not everyone,
sometimes
of course, but
yes.
yeah, absolutely.
Some meetings I join, there are like 3 people at 6 agents
Yeah.
in those. It's like more note takers. A lot of like all of our clients use note takers. Like it has become a standard practice.
Yeah.
Yes, but then you just need to be aware of what you want taken in your notes.
See, that's interesting because at a board level, when you record things, like you've got to understand what's discoverable. So if something goes pear-shaped,
yes,
anything that's being kept is discoverable. So, unless you have a rule that as soon as the minutes are done, then that recording is deleted. And I sometimes wonder, when it's being recorded, are you as full and frank in your conversation because someone's recording it, and you may say things that in hindsight you wouldn't have worded it that way if you knew it was going to be recorded and used. So it's just interesting.
It is interesting. Yeah.
I must admit I've become a bit oblivious to it. I know it's recording and I just go, okay.
Yeah.
For my conversation with my team members, I always encourage them to record me what I'm saying because I don't like repeating myself again. But then we are also building like a brain of me saying something, and then it gets captured because you can start to capture those raw transcripts and start to convert into structured knowledge, policies, procedures.
So what if someone took all your recordings, Amir, and for evilness created evil Amir, who then holds a Teams meeting with people
Mega geek.
and says, hey, look, I'd like you to transfer this money into this bank account and I'd like you to go and do this. And what's your parameters around that?
So I've got some safety parameters over there. Like
You're not really clear.
I've got one with my family as well. So as in, like if you get a call in distress from me, we have got a passcode, which I'm not going to reveal.
No. But
please don't.
Yes.
Fair.
Yeah. Because, it's so funny. ANZ, the bank, they still in the mobile app, they say, you have to make a payment, you have to use your voice and say, this is my voice and I confirm my identity. It's so easy to clone anyone's voice at this stage. Yes, yeah. And they're still using voice to verify the payment.
I didn't realize that.
So again, that's a governance issue though. That's an education and governance issue.
Because the spam emails and all that are getting better and better and better because using AI, stick a phone bill in there and say, give me a fake version of this.
There's been some great stuff that came out even, I was reading a news feed just this morning that was showing that there's a tendency for people, even when they know that video content has been generated by AI, even when it says it's been generated by AI, they believe what's being said on there. Fake news report.
Look, I am really good at identifying the videos generated by AI.
These ones say that it's generated by AI. But yet people are still like, but it's still like, it's still used.
Sometimes I get confused with the quality of videos that are coming up because it's so difficult to know what's here and what's
getting better.
So this idea of source, this idea of where's the information coming from is really important. And, I've got a vested interest in this because that's kind of been my jam for a long time. I've had a lot of conversations with young journalists, young writers, or even people that are, that are interacting with media to say just because something is published doesn't mean that it's real or that it's right. Go and find the source. Go and ask the questions. Be curious. Be skeptical.
So what's
in a positive way?
Yeah, and it's interesting.
Positive skepticism, it's really important.
Because if you watch the news and stuff these days, or news feeds or whatever, it's getting harder to work out what's fact, what's fiction.
Yeah, there's nothing new about that.
And it's very easy. It's very easy to challenge something and just say that's fake.
Yeah, indeed.
Yeah,
when it's not.
Yeah.
But then he just puts the doubt in.
Yes.
It's an interesting place we're in.
It is interesting. It is indeed.
My phone went the other day and it was me ringing me.
Right.
Really? Hi, Mark, can you transfer me $150? My tire's just blown. And call my mum.
How's my number? And it's cloning of the number.
Yeah, of course.
Whoa.
Yeah.
So it's just and that the voice is really interesting because there's a bit of that happening where people get this phone call and say, "Oh, can you send me money or help me?" And it's fake.
Yes.
So that brings up a governance question for me. How, as an advisor and as a non-executive director, how can you take a governance perspective on being mindful that mistakes are going to happen or that problems are going to happen? And how do you create an environment that makes people willing to put their hand up and say, oh, yep, no, sorry, my bad?
To me, the culture is really important, that if someone stuffs it up, that they immediately say, oh dear, I've done the wrong thing. We had an example of that, with somebody sent out an email to the wrong email address. Very easily done. What I was really impressed with is they put their hand up as soon as they did it. They fixed it because they'd rung the person and said, delete that email, it wasn't intended for you. And they hoped the person at the other end had deleted it. They could have said nothing.
Yes.
And hoped nobody would ever find out.
You're right. That is a culture win. Absolutely.
To me, it was the culture. They put their hand up and said, this is what I've done.
Yes.
And then there was a very clear policy around that happening.
Yes.
And it was managed really well.
Yeah.
And my bit was, did we congratulate them for putting their hand up?
Yeah.
We didn't beat them over the head for sending it, because they won't tell you next time.
Yes.
I just thought that was really good. And that's really important in this discussion.
Yeah.
If someone's using AI and does something, oops, I've uploaded.
It's going to happen.
We know it's
going to happen.
Then they put their hand up and say, look, this is what I've done. I don't know. Can you ask ChatGPT to delete everything I've just put up? I don't know. Probably
you can ask. You can ask anything you like.
Yeah. So that's a good point, because we talked about governance, we talked about education, but culture, I believe, is also a big missing piece.
Huge part. And on a couple of ways, Amir, culture in the organisation wanting to embrace AI, if the culture's one of trying and testing and learning, great.
Yeah.
If the culture's of risk aversion and fear, you're not going to test it, you're not going to gain. So it's interesting. So culture's a really important part.
So the challenge for me is, like, it's for me as a leader for the organization that I'm running or managing, it's easy for me to influence the culture. But if I'm going to an organization as an AI consultant, not easy. Yes. What can I do to remove some of those barriers?
That's a really good question. Probably the starting point was try and find out who within the organisation is keen on AI and embraces it, and then have that, because you're the outsider coming in. So you need to find someone on the inside that's people respect and will listen to, that then you can have your, I think you used the word champion, have a champion.
It was actually Amir's word.
Was it? But having that champion within the organisation so that they then embrace what's being said and then can help people, because people were probably more likely to go and ask them what they think than be open with you and say,
or we'll ask someone who'll then go and ask them.
Who'll get there.
Yeah.
On the other hand, because you're coming in knowing far more than probably anybody in the room, there'll be a degree of people wanting to listen and learn. And maybe it's addressing some of the urban myths first up, so that they know these things happen. Now, let's park that and let's get on with the...
What I've identified is that I go in there, like we do the training, they are keen to learn, they do some things, but then they get busy in their work
and
forget about it, or they don't have time to, like, we definitely find some winners from there who are good ones, but the challenge is, how do you then take it and implement it across the whole organization?
Or how do you as an organization allow a shift where people who are very busy and time pressured don't have a lot of spare time to go and play with things, have some time to play with things?
But that's possibly then showing those folk how they can free up time by using.
But it's chicken egg, isn't it? You got to get them there.
And you get some people who are believers and they are like, let's say, champions. They just get on board and they start to see some quick wins. And some people they really want to do it, but they're just probably too busy.
Yeah.
And it's interesting because who's driving it within the organisation? And is it the IT person? Because that's where it tends to land. And they're probably not the right person to drive it. It's probably someone in the governance or the process side of things that needs to be the champion of it. And maybe part of it is putting a little team together to help cut through as a project. Treat it like a project. How are you going to implement it? Where are you going to, and working with folk like yourself, Amir, to work out where's the pressure point, where's the place that's causing grief that can be implemented reasonably quickly
Yeah.
to show that it can work. I think that's the starting point.
And it's an interesting idea too, isn't it? Because when we talk about change management, or that's often the way, isn't it?
Change.
Oh, yeah. So it's finding where's that one place where we can make a difference and show that it works, rather than just ubiquitous. There's a tendency, isn't it? Because AI is available now. I've seen this done multiple times where we're implementing AI and now it's everywhere. And everyone still sits there and then gone into a meeting and say, oh, who's using it? And everyone's like,
yeah,
I'm doing a bit of a Google. But to be able to show that use case inside in your organisation that works can sort of be a nice way to start.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think trying to find where's the pressure point that you could solve or help solve.
Yeah, and then you can show that,
and then you can show people this is what it's done. Then you might get people that come on board and then say, oh, well, if you did that for there, hey, we've got this issue here. And at the end, it's all around data.
Yeah.
It's the data that's the issue.
Yeah.
And
but the fear is real.
The fear is real.
Yeah.
In all sorts of ways. I mean,
it's to me, it's no different to any other change management program. It's about having champions and showing and proving that it works. And you will always have people in the background sniping at it, going, oh, no, it's a load of rubbish. That's not going to work.
Yeah, of course.
But they're afraid of their job. So if you show that you're not losing people out of it, you're trying to enhance,
or afraid of being shown up, or afraid of,
it's just a brave new world at the moment.
Yeah.
And there are a lot of organizations who are like, yes, we want to embrace AI, but too busy this time, end of year, financial year, this is happening, quarterly period, and so on. So they just keep pushing it.
There's always busy stuff happening, isn't there?
I'm seeing some excellent organizations that we are working with that they are taking a leap ahead. But then I see a lot of organizations still failing miserably or just sitting on it, just waiting for something to happen.
But is that a fear factor in their part or a cultural issue within your organization?
I feel that it is a cultural issue. I think especially during with a lot of organizations that we have worked with, I can see that the fear is not a big factor over there. People are past the fear. It's finding prioritizing it and sort of focusing on the important rather than the urgent. And I see a lot of, especially SMEs and even large organizations, are focused on the urgent stuff. They are not, there's no someone who's responsible for it. Like CTO says, it's not my job. CEO says it's not my job. There's no clear budget item in there as well, because it's a new thing as well. So marketing team has someone who has got a very clear KPI. They've got a budget allocated to it. They know they have to do that work. But AI is still in this no man's land for a lot of organizations.
It's interesting whether you have a person who's the AI champion in the organization or within the different departments you have. So in the marketing, do you have the person in the marketing who's the AI champion?
Yeah.
And you can get some quick wins and show that it works.
Yes.
And then you have someone in the accounting and you have someone.
It's currently being driven not by a system, but by a person's passion in it. So you will have someone in operations who's really excited about it.
Yeah.
So you don't have a very clear culture or system in an organization to do that.
And over time, you can change things like onboarding and different training in the beginning, but doing that in an existing workforce.
It's no different to other things that have happened. If I think back over my career, OH&S became a big thing. So and this is in my Coles Myer days, and there was a whole push on occupational health and safety and identifying risks and report slips and the whole raft of stuff. And it was a big impost on the organisation.
Yeah, you'd be fighting the tide, wouldn't you?
But a lot of people pushed back. Oh, this is a waste of time. Why are we doing it? But it was a cultural change that gradually, just kept being educated. We kept having refreshers, education. And then it was embraced. Now it's so embraced in my head that if I'm walking through my Coles or Woolies supermarket and there's a plastic bag on the floor, I pick it up. I don't walk past it because I think someone might slip on that. So it's getting that cultural shift. And this is no different. It's a new thing. It's suddenly everywhere and people want to learn about it. But it's how do you bring it into the organisation and get everyone to embrace it and It'll be something else in another 5 years. There'll be something else that comes in. Look at psychosocial hazards that have now been legislated. Who would have known 2 years ago, 3 years ago, that was a big thing? But it's a cultural shift. The organisation has to embrace it, understand it, and again, it's education. There's modules being formulated so everybody in the organisation goes through it and understands this is what to look for, this is how you report it, this is how you.
So it's people working with people on how to work with technology.
Yeah, I think that education bit I think is that key. And I don't know whether you need a single champion in the organisation, but maybe within the different departments.
It probably depends on your organisation as well, the structure and size. Yeah.
And some CEOs will grab it and run with it and want it to happen. So,
and some CEOs will go hide behind the door and say, can someone else please do that? I'm really busy.
But it's interesting. The excuse of I'm really busy then is just a means of pushing it away.
Yeah.
If they really wanted to learn and make it happen, they'd embrace it and
over time you run over time because of that cultural spread and how it just will. It become part of the CEO role is that you will understand AI and you'll understand how it gets implemented and where the risks are and all of those things.
And it's scary, but it's fun.
Nano banana. Come on.
I just think that's hilarious. That's banana.
It's the best.
But it's just it's interesting. Coming back to you, should people have an understanding and use of AI? Probably at a low level understanding and at least having a play with it, because most of the people I know have a playing with it. My next door neighbour is all over it like a rash, loves it. He's found it hard to get it into his organisation, but now he's being recognised as the person that keeps talking about it. So now he's running things
he's
within
becoming
the
the
organisation. So he's becoming the champion.
So that's going to be a big trend that you're going to see.
Yeah.
These people who are fanatics about AI, these AI champions, are the ones who will find themselves to be in very important positions within the organization soon. Yes.
And he loves it. He's reading everything. I gave him your book. Like he's pushing hard.
Yeah.
And initially found resistance, but now people are starting to say there's something in this and it's working in his favour. So
do you think, Mark, that, and I think I know the answer to this, but I'm going to ask it anyway. What do you think about the potential for AI to make people enjoy or allow people to enjoy their jobs more?
We're back to the working from home scenario. Could the AI be you at work in the office when you're not in the office? Like, I don't know. So if people ring your phone and you're not in the office and it goes through to your office, you answer the phone and it takes a message and it says, I'll get back to you. And who knows where it could go? But not being silly, but I think the AI should be able to, and Amir knows this better than anyone, remove those tasks that are laborious and consuming and repetitive so that you can do the stuff that's more
frustrating
fun.
and mind-numbing. And
they're the things that keep being talked about. And it's always in the back of my head when, people throw spreadsheets up in front of me. Like, who's sitting there keying all this in? Why not take the data and ask AI to produce the analysis?
Yeah.
That gap's there a little bit.
Yeah.
Yep.
And that's where the fear comes about, if I upload that information, where do it go?
Yeah.
So it's
my view is that those desk type work is definitely gonna be gone. So AI can definitely replace that desk kind of work. We would still want people in the office, but generally in the cafes and in the meeting room, in the smoking areas, building those connections.
Yeah.
Because those connections would start to become more and more relevant. So you would have more free time for people to actually be able to enjoy their work and of course not do this laborious work, but make better human-to-human connection as well and focus on their health, like networking. And I see a future where you would have a lot of new businesses that would come up that would be just running more health programs, networking and things like that. Yeah. Because anything that provides that human-to-human touch would start to become more and more relevant in the age of AI as well.
What about innovation, though? If you free people up from the laborious stuff, you free people up to be able to look at their role and think, oh, what if I did this?
Yeah. It is.
Because
it is
unless
the great
you
what if,
prompt the AI and say, what about?
Yeah.
there's that human element. It's not going to just happen.
Yeah. And even then, it's going to largely come back with an answer from the knowns.
100%.
So
Yes.
the great possibility is that you free up people to actually sit back, take away the things that make them sort of, go running for their 3 p.m. coffee and waiting for the end of the day, to go, wow, this is in front of me. I haven't had time to actually even think about that, but now I do.
Yeah.
And if you've got time to think about it and talk about it with a few other people, then what is possible?
And it's all that, you're right, Amir, it's all the desk type roles, the analysing or keying in data and all that sort of stuff. Because that people to people, person to person contact, those things can't go away. And there's a whole raft of roles that need that person. You could argue that one day there'll be a robot that jumps out of an ambulance and says, "Where does it hurt?" But that's probably a while away because you need that human contact that sympathises.
Might be some really cool tools, though, that the AMBO has that can scan people and figure out what's going on.
Yeah, so it'll be interesting.
Yeah.
I mean, I love watching science fiction movies.
Science fiction is just science fact that hasn't happened yet, isn't it?
So, yes, it's interesting to see how it plays out. I'm trying to think of the series on Netflix that plays with AI and...
There's so many.
Black Mirror?
Oh, yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
There are things in that make you go, whoa, we're not that far away.
Yeah.
So,
but it's interesting, isn't it? Because they're all human stories.
Yes.
They're all human stories that have a tech element to them, but every single one of them is about a human story and people learning to be a little bit more human in a lot of cases.
Yeah.
It's interesting.
No, it's interesting. I've enjoyed that, Chet.
What a fantastic... I want you to come back with Bill.
Oh, we can bring.
Do you reckon we can bring? Do you reckon we can bring Bill in?
Bill's playing with AI.
Yes,
I keep
he would
him,
be.
Have a go. Have a go. So he's in.
Yeah, we should bring Bill in. Maybe give him a challenge.
Yes, we'll do that.
So he can get his own back on Mark and his Tibetan moment.
That was good fun.
It was great fun. Thank you so much for joining us.
Pleasure.
Thank you to all of you for joining us today on this episode of The Dumb Monkey Show, and we'll hope that you'll join us again next time. Thank you for listening.